Hi everyone, I'm Philip Duncan. Thank you very much for joining us. Well, we are looking back towards the tropics. We've got two more tropical cyclone potentials over the next week. The first one is up here near Fiji. The second one hasn't yet formed, but is likely to form even further to the north. So these are two areas to keep an eye on. But the good news is this one here that is forming looks quite likely to not directly affect most places. So it is going to stay mostly out at sea east of Fiji, but it might come down and affect Tonga for a time, so we're going to keep a close eye on it. It is heading towards New Zealand, but a big block of high pressure around us will more than likely keep this away, but it could come closer than Omar, and that means our beaches might be affected by strong rips and currents, even if the weather is really lovely around where you are. Now, right now across New Zealand, we've got high pressure in charge, and that's the reason why we had a cold night. Temperatures are bouncing back to normal by day for most areas, but the overnight lows are going to be below average for another couple more nights. And this is tonight's departure from normal map. In other words, how much colder than usual will it be tonight? The areas down here with no colouring, you got a normal overnight temperature, but these areas in the dark blue and the purple, you are well below average, 8 degrees or even more. So this is quite a cool night coming tonight. We did see some tweets this morning saying it was close to a frost, and some in the deep south did actually get a very light bit of ice. Now this is how we look daytime on Wednesday. So lunchtime Wednesday, things aren't looking quite so bad. The lack of colour on the map means for the first time in many weeks, temperatures are normal. When they're not above it, they're not below it. They're below it just down here in the very south where there is a cool change. And finally it warms back up again after a couple of colder days around Hawke's Bay. But just about everybody else has a normal Wednesday temperature-wise. This is the weather on Wednesday. You can see that colder change down here in the south. They'll be moving northwards with windy westerlies ahead of it, and then a cooler southerly change behind it. It won't be as nationwide as the last cool change around Sunday and Monday was. Meanwhile, the storm to the north, it is well east of Fiji. That's the good news. It is deepening a little bit further though, and that's the remnants of Omar. It is not actually being caught up in it. It's being weakened even further. Any energy left over from Omar is going to be sucked into this new low. So that is Wednesday. By Thursday, this system's coming closer towards us, moving away from most places, but high pressure is building in the New Zealand area at the same time. That means there's a bit of a squash zone between the centre of the high and the centre of the low. In other words, the southeasterly winds are going to pick up. That means it's going to be very sunny in western areas right up towards Auckland and Northland, very sunny, but perhaps a little bit cloudier in the east with a couple of showers. Now, rain-wise, not temperature-wise, sorry, rain-wise, over the next couple of days, we do have more heavy rain coming down to around Fiordland and South Westland, maybe around 40-50 millimetres, but most other places are getting nothing. The blue and the yellow and the green, that's just 2 to 10 millimetres. So dark blue is basically nothing, and the green is only a few millimetres. So this is pretty dry, but the west coast and Southland and maybe a little part of Otago is getting a bit of rain over the next 48 hours. To Friday, this is the closest this storm will get, we think. The high down here is expanding and pushing back against it, but this is very close. This is closer than Omar was, which was up over in this area. So this is quite close with very strong gale force winds around it. It's likely to be producing some big swells, and that could produce dangerous rips and the odd rogue big wave around the northeastern side of the North Island. And I really want to emphasize that because with high pressure rolling in, the weather might be beautiful, calm, perfect day to go to the beach, but there could be dangerous beach conditions, so just please be aware of that. We do get storms like this quite frequently offshore, and they do cause problems for swimmers back here in New Zealand. Let's go to the weekend, and the storm moves away. That's the good news. The high is pushing it away. Well, it's good and bad. I mean, a lot of people need rain, and I think they would quite like a rainmaker, but this one looks more like a wind maker than a rain one. So we don't really want to be hit by a windstorm. We want to be hit by, I guess, a rainstorm if we have to pick one of them. And this is how it looks as we go into the weekend, though. High pressure, just a couple of little showers on the eastern side, and by the time we go to Sunday, no change. High pressure is in charge. But there's one thing I just want to end on. I spoke at the start about two potential storms. Well, that first one, as you can see, disappears to our east. What you can't see is another one forming off our screen there. These are all easterlies, and they're actually starting to curve around another low that's off to the north. So March is the peak of the cyclone season, but we're also getting a lot of high pressure down around this area. The chance for rain is when the highs move away. High number 1, high number 2, and there's a gap just here in the middle where the winds come down as a northerly on that side and up as a southerly on the other. That's the perfect place to make a low or a rainmaker. And if you've got a storm to the north, that's also where it can drop down. So the middle of March, perhaps our next chance of seeing some rain. That's all from me. We'll update you again on Wednesday.